So maybe your stupid opinions aren't right. And like, are you so sure your life is going so much the way you want it to go, and you're such a bloody paragon of virtue, and the light is shining out every orifice, and everyone who disabuses you of your notions is evil?
Jordan Peterson kills me. He cracks me up literally. I'm just using that right now. I don't know. Hopefully he doesn't have an issue with me using this at the beginning of my podcast, but I just love the way he puts his words together. Yeah, I added the little funny business in the background, but hopefully it added to it and didn't take away from it. Um, I really suggest you check out Jordan Peterson. I know that he's been given a bad rap in various communities. And I think if you listen to him now and go back, maybe you'll understand him a little bit better than you did before without the judgments of others clouding your judgment. That's weird. Anyhow, yeah, I guess it's true. Anyhow, you're about to listen to a song called Redemption Song. It was a song a song sung by Bob Marley. Um, I'm covering it here. I think honestly, listen to me. I'm not tooting my own horn, but I am. But I think I sing it so well that I could record it as well. But of course, it's not my song. But I love the song, and it's a perfect song for the topic that I'll be talking about today. So here we go. Listen up. Redemption Song. Hey yo, it is I. Once again, it is me, MCM, and you're listening to You're Probably Right podcast. You're welcome in my house anytime. Figuratively speaking. Don't you bring your tail up in here. All right, all right. Okay, guys. Oh, should I say people? Or should I say y'all? Or should I say friends, internet friends, podcast peoples, radio listeners around the world? No, I'm just joking. All right, here we go. Guys, and I say that loosely, obviously, although most of my listeners are guys. But who's to say they are, right? They might have just have male names, or the cisgender of their individuality is the perception of others forced upon them by others. They themselves. No. Okay. Listen. Ontario will end grade 9 academic and applied streaming in September 2020. Can you believe this? I'm going to read this now. Sorry, because I was a person who was streamed and I was in special ed. So I'm going to do my best, okay? Ontario students entering grade 9 in September 2022. Did I say 2020 before? 2022 will no longer be offered the option. Oh, no longer offered the option, huh? Okay. The reason why I'm laughing is because it wasn't an option for some of us in the first place, but will no longer be offered the option of taking applied or academic courses. In previous years, high school students were asked to choose between more practical, hands-on applied courses and more theoretical academic courses in core subjects like math, science, and English, basically the ones that matter to society. Now, guys, again, I'm just saying we were told to choose. You know what I'm saying, many of you. There was no choice. I'm taking advanced math, and then a phone call goes home to your parents saying that I don't think little Johnny can do advanced math, so I think you should really convince him to take general, or maybe even basic, or locally developed as they call it now, which even sounds so much worse, but whatever. However, advocates have long argued that streaming ends up dividing students rather than providing them more options, and disproportionately impacts racialized and low-income students. Hopefully I read that good enough for some of you. and obviously not well enough for others. But listen, first off, I would like to know who these advocates are. I would love you to name them instead of just making this post, which I guess I will say who did this post in the first place or wrote this post in the first place. But if you're worrying about this racialized business with this isn't the, I don't believe that this is the avenue or the way to go down this road at all. You're just going to abruptly change it in grade 9 now, are you, for those children that have already been dealing with pandemics and all kinds of other baloney up until now, right? Ontario was the only province in Canada that streamed kids into 2 different streams of learning, applied and academic. Education Minister Stephen Lecce said Thursday afternoon, "I believe we should not be the outlier. We want to make sure that every single child, irrespective of their background, their ethnic, their faith, every child has an equal shot of succeeding." Boy, oh boy. This year, the government implemented a new merged math course for Ontario high school students that focused on coding and financial literacy. Now, I do agree with the financial literacy part. Coding, not so sure. Um, the Ontario math course was the first step in the province's decision to phase out streaming for all grade 9 subjects. At the time, no timeline was provided regarding when the rest of the courses would be merged. It's funny that they started with math, though. On Thursday, officials confirmed on background the streaming will officially end for grade 9 students beginning in September of next year. So I'm just wondering, so what about all the kids that have been pulled out of their classes and, put in special ed and who have all kinds of other issues going on that they haven't been able to even concentrate, if they even have the aptitude to succeed in the mathematics, because we all know that we do not all have a mathematical brain. Just like some of us can paint Van Gogh pictures and some can do stick figures, or some can slam dunk a basketball and some can barely get off the ground and run and put one foot before the other. This will affect science, geography, English, and French as a second language course. The de-streamed science course will touch on the usual biology, chemistry. The de-streamed science course will touch on the usual biology, chemistry, physics, and earth and space science. However, officials say that there will also be a focus on developing and refining STEM skills. Officials also said that core French will continue to be offered for students with little or no knowledge of the second language. No additional course changes were released. At this time, streaming is still expected to remain in place for grade 10 students. However, officials also confirmed on background that the Ministry of Education will be releasing additional materials for 2022 and 2023 academic and applied mathematics curriculum. I was been reading too long. That will help the transition from the de-stream courses to the stream courses. Really. Listen, the reason why I decided to even say something about this is because I was a child who was good at certain things, not very good at other things. My parents worked as like slaves. I won't even use that terminology. My parents worked very hard, long hours, to afford my family a home. We were too poor, definitely, to be rich, and we were too rich to be poor. In other words, we were just financially stable enough to be out of public housing and those kind of circles, and we weren't affluent enough to be in some of the better areas of Toronto, but we were good. We did live paycheck to paycheck, but we were always fed and always clothed. My parents didn't drive a car in this country, but we owned a house, or we mortgaged a house. and to tell you the truth, that mortgage was never paid off. But that's a whole nother story. Actually moved. But anyways, you know, from a person who dealt with this, I don't think that just throwing away the streaming is the answer for this area of the country. If Ontario was the only ones doing it, I don't think canceling it works. I don't understand why the solution nowadays is just to cancel stuff without putting stuff in place to replace it. You're going to merge it, are you? Really? I believe many people hearing this are sighing and saying, I wonder what these people are going to do. Or if they're really serious because they started with math. Wouldn't it be better to start with English? Considering that everybody, most people are learning, but most people, I would say at least 80% of or higher, yeah, most students know how to speak English somewhat. Of course, there's going to be people who are coming from other countries, or people with learning disabilities who don't speak at all, maybe, or those who can barely put two words together. But for the most part, most students speak English. So wouldn't it be better to de-stream English first? Why did you go to math if this is really your goal, to de-stream stuff? I believe they're going with math because they know full well that all they're going to do is try to prove the people who are arguing about streaming wrong. I believe you could have started with English for sure. You could have even started with gym, or I don't even know if there's if there's academic, and that wouldn't make any sense. But I think you should have started with English for sure, because at least you have a shot in the dark. I mean, you speak English every day, you speak the language, but you don't necessarily use math every day at these levels. I mean, maybe you use math up to maybe grade 5 or 4 every day of your life, but you don't use it at a grade 9 level every day. And that's just the truth, at least the way they've been teaching it. I believe the reason why they're doing this is, again, just to prove people wrong, because English would have been a better choice. And I know that, and if you think about it, I think you'd agree with me. But, of course, if you don't think so, you're probably right. Listen, I will say, as a kid growing up in Toronto, there was always credence put into 3 professions, and you probably know what they are. It's be a doctor, be a lawyer, be an engineer. Everything comes after that. But also, if you could somehow figure out how to be an entrepreneur, then you might be able to actually eclipse all of those previous 3 that I just said. Possibly. If you're a risk taker, if you've been taught how to take risks, educated risks. Now, I remember one time having a conversation with a family member, and I remember feeling so disrespected or degraded when asked this question. But it really wasn't a bad question. The person probably knew what they were talking about in a sense, but again, this family member also wanted their children to do better, or at least in my eyes, or in society's eyes, better. Now, one is a teacher, and I'm not sure what the other one is doing, but this family member said to me, why don't you drive truck? And this was, I think, just coming out of college, first time. I was like thinking to myself, at first I was like, no, I don't want to drive truck, that's not me. But I said I couldn't see myself driving a truck all day for long hours. It just wasn't part of who I thought I was. And I felt like he was degrading me. I was like, what? Can I be a whatever. I can't be a doctor. I can't be a lawyer. Why do you have to just throw me down to, why don't you just go drive a truck? Something that you could learn to do from 16 and do it for the rest of your life. Now, looking back on it, it would have been good money. Matter of fact, I know some truck drivers who own 2 and 3 houses and are entrepreneurs and have retired early. Now, they might be in bad shape physically, but financially, they're set, and actually some are able to actually get themselves back into shape. But the point is, from a financial and taking care of your family standpoint, it wouldn't have been such a bad idea. But of course, because everybody just looks at all the other professions and then they call the other stuff trades, and it just sounds so elementary, so locally developed, and basically you are developing your local area when you know how to do the trades. But unfortunately, because of the wording and the stigmatism around it, it just sounds bad. Now, I'm just looking at these trades that people do not have respect for anymore, and you could see that if they all disappeared tomorrow or next week, we would be in a world of hurt. Plumbing, welding, woodworking, truck driving, barbering, hairstyling, baking, cooking, chefs, sewing, fashion design, a farmer, agriculture, sales, CYW, florists, firemen, police services, mechanics. These aren't bad jobs, and as a matter of fact, these people who do these jobs are very successful. Now, I know a few of them have been pulled out and changed. Like, for instance, you would have to sell your parents and your siblings to someone to be allowed to be a fireman these days, because apparently people who were doctors and lawyers and engineers have decided that they would like to be firemen. So for the average grunt, hardworking, physically tough and mentally tough person who would have normally been a fireman, sorry buddy, you are not going to make the grade now, because they pull into those jobs now more math, English, and science to basically weed out all the people that would normally get those jobs. And the police services, well, yeah, you could try, but most of you are probably going to end up being security guards anyways. The CYWs, well, yeah, child youth workers. Now, well, you know what? We've downgraded the CYWs, the people who work with children, and now they're CYCs. There's chefs, cooking, baking. Like, these are 3 different jobs, really. I mean, some can be all, but there's mostly there's people who are cooks, and there are chefs, and there are bakers. And all of these jobs that I spoke about just now are technically trades that can help a person to be an entrepreneur or work for themselves. I mean, you want to cancel the stuff, but it's not that you need to cancel it, you need to stop it. I mean, I would love for you to name these people who said, de-stream everything and throw our children to the wolves. Because university isn't the end-all be-all for everyone. Some of us are never going to university, period. How about companies that train within? You see somebody has the talent in what you're doing, or the app, or the knack for it, and you can train them at a higher level to do better or more involved and pay them more money, those kind of jobs. Why can't you just train people in the companies? Ivy League isn't for everyone. And funny enough, I know a lot of people who went to the so-called Ivy Leagues that can barely change a light bulb, certainly not in their car, but definitely in their house, most likely. I know a lot. I know a few who can obviously do other things other than stuff that takes a lot of brain power and can do some physical stuff. But I know so many that are good with a paper, a pen, and a computer, but not so good when it comes to working with their hands. I believe that you need to build what we have. I believe that we need to reflect on what you've done or what they've done or they did, but I don't believe that you need to just cancel everything, and I certainly don't think you should be starting with math. And I believe, again, the reason why you're starting with math is so that you can prove the naysayers wrong and then go back to where you were before, but probably in a worse situation than we were before. I don't believe you even want to hire within. I believe you're going to import all the people to do those menial tasks and those trades that you think are, or that many have been taught to believe that are beneath them. Yes, teach finance, true finance. Teach our children how to use credit and not let credit use them, so that they're paying 80% of their paychecks back to a credit card that they shouldn't have borrowed from in the first place. Teach our children how to save. Teach our children how to be socially adequate when dealing with other people. Teach them how to say yes, sir, yes, thank you, please. Teach them those things. But yes, teach them math, and teach them math that they'll need. If you're going to stream them, then yes, I don't know that little Johnny or little Susie is going to know exactly what they want to do at the age of 14. But you know what? How about prepare them? Yes, stop cutting off the routes to university, the routes to college courses. Maybe go back to the aptitude tests for real, but make them more inclusive, of course, but don't just cut it off. I don't know what you think, but I don't believe we're headed down the right path in cutting everything. I believe we need to build on what has been done so far. Just like what I was talking about with Ryerson. Yes, you want to change the name, but change it to what? You have people complaining, especially in the humanities. If you've ever attended a humanities class in college or university, you know what I'm talking about. Everything is blamed on Christians. Everything is blamed on Europeans. The rights that you're fighting for tend not to be even for the whole Black community. It tends to be geared towards one side, the so-called woke culture. I believe that the silent majority has been silent for too long because they've been shamed into being quiet, so that everybody sitting on the fence being quiet is believed to have the same ideologies and thought processes of those who are bullying everything the way that it's going right now. And that is to the woke culture, to the cancel culture, to everything intersectionality and fluid and binary and everything that's mid-ranged in the middle all over the place. We can't believe in everything at the same time, but you know what? This country was founded on certain beliefs, and now they're being bastardized. They've been hated on. You're saying the Christians did this. The Christians did this to the First Nations, the first peoples of Canada, and they're evil. And was it all the Christians? Was it the Protestants? Was it the Catholics? Was it the Presbyterians? Was it the Baptists? Was it the Pentecostals? Like, you can't lump them all together. Just like how you wouldn't lump all Muslims together, you can't lump all Christians together. As a matter of fact, there's various sects that aren't even Christians, but they call on the name of God in what they do, and therefore everybody who is under the guise of Christianity would be seen as evil. And everything from Christianity is wrong. Really? Because a few fools had residential schools and decided to take people's culture and language and separate their children from them, this means that all Christians are bad? Pick up a Bible and see what it really says. Find out that Jesus is love. Anyhow, this was a short one. Hopefully it's an impactful one. But let me just tell you, from a person who was in special ed, who was pulled out of French, and actually I probably would have done well in French, because I've noticed later on in my life that I actually pick up other languages pretty well. But because I was pulled out and thrown into a special ed class with children with ADHD and people who should have been in special programs, mental programs, or ones that would help them to get on just day-to-day living, I was stuffed in there as a scared, not knowing, embarrassed child, when it was a big joke for me to be done, like to be off to the special class, as it probably happens to children nowadays. I realized that there's a lot I could have done, but I didn't get a chance to do. I understand certain things I did not have the aptitude to do, but I also realized that I'm smarter than they made or they let on. So for children like me, I believe that these children just need to have opportunity. A lot of things weren't choices back in the 70s, 80s, 90s, and in early 2000s. There was no, do you want to do this? Do you want to do that? It's, you should do this. Don't do that. Trust me, I know. I was in it. I've had children who have gone through it. I've spoken to the so-called guidance counselors. And another thing, you're bringing up these so-called black coaches, and a lot of people are clamoring for these black grad coach jobs. But you know what? The reason why they're clamoring for them is because they're trying to have a career as well. But if you asked a lot of them if you believe in the ethics of those kinds of jobs, they'll probably say no. But because it's going to pay them $50,000 to $70,000 a year, they're going to do it. But all this stuff where you're pulling people here, and there, and saying that we need tribes will rise up together and strengthen each other. Yeah, and soon they're going to be at the throats of the other tribes. I don't know what you're doing. You're definitely not bringing unity with all this stuff that you're bringing now. That's all I'm going to say for today. And I hope you understand where I'm coming from and you're not feeling like I'm being disrespectful or not caring about the different situations that people are going through in this respect. But I understand what they're trying to do, and I don't believe that it's right. But of course, if you do, hey, you're smarter than me, so you're probably right. Anyhow, take care, and I hope that you see where I'm coming from. God bless. Jesus is Lord.